Om Gam Ganapatte Namaha, Kaliyugada Kalpataru, the fifth delight, Shri Raghavendra Gurusarvabhauma, chapter 113, the Orphan Venkanna becomes a Divan. After completing the Chaturmasya Vrata, Sri Rayaru, as part of his travels, visited a village called Kandanati near Raichuru. The Jagirdars of that place were chief disciples of the Matha. After the original Jagirdar had passed away, his relatives influenced the court of Bijapur Sultana, claiming rights over the Jagir and usurped the authority. While the rightful heir, a young boy named Venkanna, was pushed aside and neglected. At Kandanati, in the Jagirdar's household, Shri Rayaru was welcomed with excellent hospitality. By the time the orphan Venkanna had come of age, and he had heard of the greatness and glory of Sri Rayaru, he believed that with the Guru's grace all his sufferings would be resolved. As soon as he heard of the Guru's arrival, he came with deep devotion and reverence, served Sri Rayaru sincerely, narrated all his troubles and losses, and prayed for the blessings that would help him rise and flourish. The compassionate Sri Guru Rajaru was moved by Venkanna's situation. Pleased with his pure heart, service, devotion, and humility, Rayaru blessed him and said, "Venkanna, we are pleased with your service. Sri Moolarama is also pleased with you. Whenever you are in distress, remember us. From that very moment, you will begin to prosper and earn renown. In the future, you will render great service to the Mahasamsthana and to Sri Moolarama himself. Your name will become eternal." So saying, he offered him Phalamantrakshata and his blessings and proceeded on his journey towards Kumbhakona. Venkanna, who eventually earned fame in the Bijapur Sultan's court with the title Sadesai, came from once wealthy and respected family that had received Jagirs. However, when he was still a child, both his parents passed away. The Jagir was then taken over by his relatives, who ostracized and sidelined him despite his rightful claim. Raised in envy and neglect by his kin, Venkanna grew up in hardship. After having to work as a cowherd, he had a strong desire to become educated, cultured, and respected in society like everyone else. But without proper guardians or mentors, and surrounded by jealous and indifferent relatives, he had to grow up as an orphan. People referred to him dismissively as useless. Unable to receive even basic education, he led a life of sorrow and struggle. As though the gates of fortune had opened for Venkanna, the great saint Sri Rayaru arrived at Kandanati. Venkanna, who had been deeply moved by the stories of Guru's greatness, served him with enthusiasm, hoping that by obtaining his blessings, he too could become a respectful and successful person in life. Blessed by the Guru with Phalamantrakshata, Venkanna felt as if a powerful force had begun to circulate through his body. Various thoughts began to arise in his mind. Until then, he had been shabby and unkempt. Now he cleaned and wore his clothes neatly. Every day he bathed, offered salutations to God and Guru, and began his daily work. The people of the village, observing this transformation in Venkanna after the Guru's visit, were amazed. They began to think that his days for fortune were approaching. Time moved on. At that time, the region of Adavani was a vassal state under Bijapur Sultans. Adavani served as its capital. The military general and noble Siddhi Masood Khan, c. 1662 to 1687, brother-in-law of Ali Adil Shah of Bijapur, was both the Mandalika, that is provincial ruler, and governor of that region. Though formerly under the Sultan's authority, Siddhi Masood Khan acted autonomously and was actively expanding his domain. At the time, the entire Raichuru region was under his control. He was known to personally go out to collect taxes. On one such expedition, while heading through the Kandanati route for revenue collection, the locals trembled in fear, since robbery, looting, and killings were common among the Yavanas, that is, Muslim forces. Hindus, particularly the respected ones, were terrified to even look upon him. As Siddhi Masood Khan approached Kandanati, riding an elephant and accompanied by soldiers, 2 horsemen met him near the village and offered him royal greetings and handed over 2 letters. Since no official royal reader had accompanied him on his expedition, the Nawab looked around to find someone who could read the letters aloud. His eyes fell upon Venkanna, who stood under a tree observing the Nawab's grand procession. Noticing his demeanor and presence, the Nawab assumed he was a Brahmana and summoned him. He handed him the two letters and commanded him to read them aloud. Terrified, Venkanna replied politely, Khavand, that is master, I cannot read. Hearing this, the Nawab became furious. Are you lying, Brahmana? Saying that you are a Brahmana and yet cannot read? If you don't read these letters right now, I will tie you to the elephant's leg and have you dragged to death. Read. Venkanna's whole body began to tremble. He pleaded, No, Janab, I truly cannot read. But it was of no use. The Nawab's anger reached his peak. You Brahmana liar, you know who am I? If you read, you will be rewarded. If you don't, it's death, he roared. Hearing this, Venkanna was completely lost. Tears streamed down his eyes. In that life-threatening moment, he remembered what Shri Raghavendra Gururajaru told him. Venkanna, when you face hardship, remember us. From that very moment, your rise will begin, and you shall earn fame. Now he was in grave danger. Surely this was the moment to seek Guru's intervention. In his heart, he silently prayed, Sri Raghavendra, save me. With that, he opened the letters and looked at them. In that very moment, miracle. Though he had never learned to read, Venkanna began reading the letters fluently, line by line. What a wonder! Venkanna, who had never learned to read, began reading fluently like a well-educated scholar. His confident and articulate reading style, composed demeanor, and bold presence astonished the Nawab. By the grace of Venkanna's good fortune, both letters happened to contain joyous news. One conveyed news of victory, stating that enemies had surrendered. The other conveyed the happy news of the Nawab being blessed with a son. Hearing both glad tidings, Siddhi Masood Khan was overwhelmed with joy. Smiling broadly, the Nawab asked, Hey, what is this? You read so well, yet pretended to be illiterate. Were you scared of me? At that moment, Venkanna realized the miraculous grace bestowed by Shri Raghavendra Guruguru. Protected by the Guru's compassionate grace, Venkanna boldly replied, No, Huzur, truly. Until now I was completely illiterate, but thanks to the blessings of my great Guru, I have now discovered here before you that I can read these letters. That is the truth. Startled, the Nawab asked, How is it possible? Venkanna then explained everything. How he had met Shri Gururajaru, shared his troubles, received blessings and a promise. In your time of distress, remember me. How he had found himself in this crisis today, remembered the Guru and was now able to read miraculously without understanding how. Huzur, this is the greatness of our Guru, Venkanna said with humility. Deeply amazed, the Nawab exclaimed, I have heard of such Mahatmas among you Hindus, but today I have seen it with my own eyes. I am overjoyed. You have read two pieces of news most dear to me. Ask for whatever you want. I shall give it to you. With gentle humility, Venkanna replied, Khavand, your happiness is my blessings. Huzur, your affection is enough for me. I desire nothing more. Impressed by Venkanna's selflessness, noble demeanor, charm, and sincerity, Siddhi Masood Khan developed special affection for him. He invited Venkanna to Adavani and gave him a position in his service. By the grace of Sri Gururajaru, Venkanna studied for several years and became a highly learned scholar. He performed his duties with deep commitment and earned the trust and affection of the Nawab. Venkanna's ancestors, his fathers included, had been intelligent and skilled in governance. That political sharpness, administrative insight, and innate talent inherited through generations had been lying dormant in him. Now, through the blessings of Sri Rayaru, these qualities blossomed. In a short span of time, Venkanna became skilled in all matters of governance, diplomacy, and policy. He conducted himself with such competency and timely wisdom that the Nawab began trusting him more than anyone else and constantly sought his counsel. Venkanna's poetic skill, loyalty, humility, and royal allegiance filled the Nawab with delight. Eventually, Venkanna became the Nawab's most trusted confidant, and within a few days, he was elevated to the prestige position of Divan of Adavani. Venkanna, who was once a destitute orphan, now became the honored Divan Venkanna Pant, bearing the title of Sardesai. From that time onwards, he was renowned as Divan Venkanna Pant and became the most trusted confidant of the Nawab. He never forgot the boundless grace of Sri Gururajaru, who had uplifted an orphan like him and elevated him to the status of a Divan. Always immersed in that remembrance, he longed for the day when he might once again be blessed with the opportunity and fortune to serve that great soul. While he was waiting in hope for such a moment, Venkanna Pant flourished in his role as Divan of Adavani, gaining widespread fame, prestige, and immense wealth. Meanwhile, having blessed Venkanna, Sri Gururajaru continued his travels and arrived at Kumbhakona on his Digvijaya, that is spiritual victory tour. The people of Kumbhakona, filled with joy at the Guru's arrival, welcomed Sripadaru with great pomp and honor. At Vidyamata, Gururajaru engaged as always in teachings and discourses, that is Pata Pravachana, overseeing the education institution, working tirelessly for the welfare of the world, and uplifting the disciples and devotees. Hari Om. Om Sri Krishnarpanamastu.